Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll run a little experiment to hopefully improve the engraving quality of this blue diode laser. If you look closely at the engravings, you will see very pronounced lines, and that's because when you're in focus, the laser dot is very small. It's rated at 0.05 millimeters. That means there is pretty much no way to fill it out completely. One, because the accuracy of the laser carriage isn't good enough, also because it would just take forever. So that's a bit of a problem. But what if we manually take the laser out of focus a bit? Then the dot should get larger and give us a better fill. And if the laser power is still enough to burn the material, I think the engravings should turn out quite good. So let's test it out. I'm now going to put this piece of wood down here, and this is where we'll do our test runs. First of all, I'm gonna do a control test with the laser in focus as it's set by the manufacturer. So we lift this up, set it down until this part touches the top surface, tighten the screw, pull it out of the way, and now the height is in focus and we are ready to do our first engraving. Now that the engraving is done, we can clearly see the individual lines. This is one of the worst engravings I got, and this is precisely what I want to solve. So now let's set the laser a bit out of focus and try it again. So this piece of DMF is exactly 3 millimeters tall. I'm gonna use it as a shim, so we are 3 millimeters out of focus. Let's see how it turns out. So on the top right, there's our second engraving, and we can still clearly see some lines. And what I find a bit weird is that the engraving actually seems to be a bit deeper, which I didn't expect. All the settings stayed the same. And if the laser is out of focus, it really shouldn't be that, but I guess it is. So let's put it out of focus once again and then try and see what it does. I've now raised it by another 3 millimeters. You can see I have two shims in there, so 6 millimeters in total. So on the far right, you can see the engraving. And this is the first one where it looks a bit ugly because we are losing detail, but on the other side, the lines are starting to get less visible, especially in the outer ring where we could see it before. Here clearly it is pretty much gone now. So I'm thinking I'm gonna pull it out of focus a bit more to see if we can get it if we can get the lines to be completely gone. And if it's not enough detail for this one, I'm gonna switch to a different logo, and then it's just a limitation of the engraver. But let's see how it turns out. And now put another piece in, another 3 millimeters, so we are at 9 millimeters total. So I think this is as far as we can go on this particular material. The penguin looks a bit cursed now compared to the other one. Here he looks quite mean, and here he wants us to kill him. But the lines are starting to disappear. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do another test run at the exact focal distance and 9 millimeters out of focus on this MDF piece, because it is a bit more homogeneous, and I think maybe it's gonna show us the difference a bit better, and maybe we can get a bit more detail out of this base material. So I'm now done with my last engravings. These are all made in MDF. On the left, it's completely in focus. In the middle, it's 6 millimeters offset, and on the right, it's 3 millimeters offset. And you can clearly see the difference. The one in the middle, there's too much of an offset in MDF. There's absolutely no detail left. But the one on the right looks, in my opinion, a bit better than the one on the left, because there you can clearly see all of the lines. On the right, it is a bit more hidden. Maybe putting it 2 millimeters out of focus would be a better idea, and making the engraving a bit larger. This is 2 centimeters tall, so it's very, very small. It's just so I could fit more into the picture. Then I think the details in the eyes wouldn't be lost, and then that's actually an improvement. So here we are at the end of a little experiment, and once again I am actually quite happy with the results. We can clearly see that by changing the focal distance we can get different results on the engraving and even improve the engraving quality. We know that we have to play in the millimeter region to don't lose too much detail, and on very, very small engravings it probably won't work. If you have a lot of detail in a very small engraving, then it's just too much for this, it won't work. We can also see that the base materials matters quite a lot, because on this piece of fur we could go quite a lot out of focus and we wouldn't lose that much detail. But on the MDF, which is probably the most homogeneous material you can get or you can use for engraving, it was a thing of millimeters, like 1, 2, 3 millimeters is already enough to get vastly different results, whereas here, like the 3 millimeter offset didn't even do anything. I'm quite happy with it. I hope it could help you with your engraving projects. If you have a particular logo that you're engraving on all of your stuff, it is worth it to try out different settings to dial it in, get some shims that you can put under your workpiece to have the exact same offset every time, and then it should improve your engraving. If you like this video, if you find it interesting and learned something, then consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like, and then I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.